Join Yvette Walker every Tuesday at 4 o'clock p.m. on KMET ABC News Radio, 1490 AM, FM 98.1, and Internet KMET TV for the Southern California Business Report. The show is dedicated to highlighting successful businesses and the individuals behind them. Yvette interviews the incredible people managing these enterprises that range from awe-inspiring sole proprietors to world-renowned organizations. The Southern California Business Report, Tuesdays at 4 o'clock p.m. Welcome to KMET 1490 AM ABC News Radio and the Southern California Business Report with Yvette Walker, a show dedicated to highlighting successful Southern California businesses and the people behind them.
Welcome and thank you for joining the Southern California Business Report on ABC News and Talks KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV. I'm Yvette Walker, live blasting our signal from the center of Southern California, serving a population of over 25 million. Get us crystal clear and on demand by downloading the free KMET live streaming app on Google Play or the Apple App Store. A huge shout out to the team, Mitch, Bill, and Sean, you know I love you, and to our special advisory committee, Bill Morris of UCI School of Business, Diane Cavallo, and Camila Rubio. Thank you so much. Everyone listening, don't forget to check out the Jay Kaplan Show, also on KMET on Fridays at 3. And today, of course, I have the distinct honor to be introducing Mr. Paul Leon. He is the mayor of Ontario, California, where over 3/4 of their residents say Ontario, California is a great place to live. Founded as a model colony based on innovation, planned development, community service, and family values, the city of Ontario has become the economic heart of the region. Paul Leon, who was appointed to the Ontario City Council in 1998, he was later elected to the City Council in 1999 and re-elected in 2000 and 2004. He served as Mayor Pro Tem from December 2002 until January 2005. Paul was elected to mayor in a special election in June 2005 and re-elected to 4-year terms in November 2006, 2010, 2014, and 2018. Subsequently, he has been mayor for 15 years. In addition to his mayoral duties, Mayor Leon also serves as senior pastor of Hope Chapel Church. And over the years, Mayor Leon has represented Ontario on regional boards with Southern California Association of Governments, San Bernardino Associated Governments, and Omnitrans, and has served as the City Council liaison to the Los Angeles World Airports Board of Airport Commissioners. A native of Southern California, Paul is a graduate of Nordhoff High School in Ojai, the U.S. Army Security Agency Training Center and School at Fort Devens, Massachusetts, attended Cleveland Institute of Electronics, and Next Dimensions Bible College, where he was awarded a Doctorate of Divinity. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mayor Paul Leon.
You know, I don't know why that math always goes 18 years as mayor. I don't know why it says 15. I've read that too. It's like, no, it's 18.
We need an updated bio, apparently.
2005 to now, it's just the math alone. It's 18.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
The reason I say it is because I feel every single year of it.
Oh my goodness. Well, you wear it very well, and Ontario is just a beautiful and thriving place as a result of it. So please tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, I love to introduce our guests and learn about how they became what they are today. So please walk us through as far back as you'd like to go. Lead us down the path of how Paul Leon is now mayor of Ontario, California.
I'll just try to make it as quick as possible. I never tried to become a politician or an elected official. It just kind of landed on me. I was doing youth ministry, and the county youth services recognized that some of the kids that were had been adjudicated by the courts or were in the system of juvenile hall or in different types of homes were improving. And as they traced those kids, they circled back to the church that I was the youth pastor at, along with my wife. And so they said, well, what are you doing? It's hard to explain to somebody who's secular that there's a miraculous thing that happens to people when they are introduced to Jesus. So they didn't believe me when I said it isn't me. So they said, well, could we hire you to replicate your program, because we see that it's actually successful with some of our toughest kids. Their grades are improving, their personalities are better, just their everything about them was and one lady said they're far more delightful, which I thought was
very nice.
Yeah. So anyway, I started working for bilingual family counseling through a grant by the county to address the issues of violence and the needs of students excuse me, I just got something in my eye, of course. Anyway, so through that work that we were doing in the southern central part of Ontario, the newspapers were writing just continuously about the things that we were doing as a group, because I had begun to enlist kids, not only from the youth group of the church, but the kids that we were encountering through the county programs. And I just started doing things with them, and they were doing a lot of graffiti paint outs and cleanups and helping people in their yards and everything else. And the newspapers were writing a lot about it. So when a vacancy happened in Ontario, when our mayor, a council member ran for mayor and he won, his name was Gary Obed, and that allowed there to be a vacancy in the Ontario City Council seat. So he recommended me. I met with him, and that's another miraculous story, but I met with him and he said, hey, I'd like somebody who's doing something, not just somebody who wants to be a council member. So he said, if you'd like to be our new council member, I would support you. And that's really what happened. I remember asking him, well, what does that mean? What does a council member do? I don't even know. And he said, just pay attention and I'll show you. And he was a very good mentor for me. And he lasted with me about 4 years before he ran for county supervisor. And when he left, I ran for mayor. And that's the end of that.
And so you've been mayor ever since.
I just have always, I've always striven to be a mayor who thinks of the people first. I don't have any sights on grandeur or higher heights. I've just always wanted to be mayor. I have run for Senate and Assembly, but those were, I didn't understand politics at those times. I thought you just had to be the best candidate. Didn't realize that you also had to be the chosen one by the parties, and I wasn't. So I'm more than happy to stay here through until the day that I decide to retire and be the mayor of Ontario, because I'm having fun and I'm able to actually do things that affect the people, which is what I've always wanted to do anyway.
Well,
and nobody have to do.
That's right. Well, your work speaks for itself. You and your team, your fellow council members are all keeping the city on the right track, in the right direction. And one of my first memories of you, I just have to say, was I attended a State of the City. I would have to say it's maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And, I'm running around, mother of 3. I was late. So, of course, I'm standing at the back trying to hide behind the curtain. And lo and behold, here comes a gentleman who happens to be you and finds me hiding behind the curtain and says, hey, there's a seat up here. And I said, oh, okay. So you proceeded to escort me down to the seat, which ended up being right at the front of the stage, sitting alongside your beautiful wife, Cheryl, which I absolutely adore. We're great friends now. And that just made me realize what an amazing down-to-earth person you are. You could have left me sitting there hiding in shame for being late, standing at the back of the room, but you didn't. You brought me to the front, and I got to enjoy a beautiful State of the City. And I hope you can share a beautiful State of the City this afternoon with our listeners and our viewers, because I know there is a lot happening in Ontario.
I'm just laughing. Just remember. That's true. I knew that there was a seat up there because I knew it was mine and I couldn't take it. I had other things to do. I had been on stage. I'd come to the very back. You were standing back there. Every other seat was taken. So I said, well, there's no reason for this lady to stand here because my seat is empty. So I didn't say who I was. I just took you up front.
Right. You said, go ahead and sit down. I didn't know who you were. And then until you appeared on stage again, giving the state of the city. And I said, oh my goodness. Wow, that was quite an impressive, show for someone of your stature to help somebody that was hiding behind the curtain. So thank you for that. I won't forget it.
I think that's really in a nutshell who I am. I don't really think of myself as being a person of that stature. I think that I really believe in equality of everybody, and my main statement is always: there's no big I's and little U's ever.
That's a great philosophy, and it's very true. It is very true. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Ontario today. I know 10, 12 years ago, there was a lot happening, but today there's even more happening. And the fruits of all of the work and the labor that you and your team have implemented are doing what today? Let's talk about that.
Well, there's been a transition of industry in Ontario since it was conceptualized by the Chaffee brothers back in the early 1800s, because this region has gone through successive industries, if you will. I mean, at first it was a part of the largest contiguous vineyard in the world when the Segundo Guasti family owned this whole area. And then the Chaffee brothers come along and they pick up a significant amount of the area also in this valley, from the mountains to the bottom of Chino and from into Fontana all the way over to Pomona. And they just wanted to divide it up into equidistant squares, which is why you have Euclid goes down, Euclid being a Greek mathematician.
Right.
And so they drew that straight north and south thoroughfare with a lane going up and a lane going down and a middle between them. The middle was actually, in the past, it was a public transportation that was a rail car that was pulled uphill by a mule. And then the mule got on the trailer and he came back downhill to the center of Ontario. Right. They were quite the showmen and quite the salespeople. So they divvied up the region in equal squares. Los Angeles, for instance, isn't equal in so many ways, and a lot of squiggly lines and winding streets. And they didn't want that to happen. They also, the Chaffees also understood how water on the property was going to be crucial. So they worked on the San Antonio Dam, and then they brought waterways down to each property. And so there was a lot of development besides the main streets and the waterways. And then it became apparent that this was a good place for citrus growth. So it went from wineries to citrus. And for the longest time, it was a lot of citrus and orchards and farms. And of course, the Euclid corridor became the place where everybody kind of lived, with downtown Ontario, Euclid crossing the railroad track. That was the East and West Railroad, leaving Los Angeles and heading out east. So that was the center of town, and everything grew from there. Then eventually the highway came through. There was the Route 66 was north when Upland was still Ontario.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know Upland actually.
I know that. It's unfortunate that they decided to secede from Ontario, but that's a conversation for another day.
So the highway, the Route 66 came through, and then Hope Boulevard was also another route that went east and west,
right,
all the way across the country. So downtown Ontario became the center of almost everything. And then we started seeing some very light industrial developing with the General Electric came to town and began to produce the hot point iron, which was revolutionary because you used to put an iron on a stove and get it hot. Then they invented an electric iron where the point stayed hot. It was the hot point iron. And then their line became Hot Point So then they started, building the washers and dryers and refrigerators and everything here in downtown Ontario and shipping them out to the rest of the country. While Lockheed Air was in town, began to operate out of the airport. World War II started to bring the airport up, and there were just a few of these light industrial businesses that came to town and really made things happen. Kaiser Steel also. And a lot of the community of Ontario, the history is that they had these Kaiser neighborhoods. And in fact, the very first Kaiser hospital was in Ontario at High Street. Yeah, the very first Kaiser, because it was a place where all the Kaiser workers went to get their medical attention. It's
very
vacant.
nice.
But so all of that happened, and then then as those industries became pollutants and had to close down, there was a transition. The transition of the malls emptied our downtown, so we had a depression of the downtown area, and our community began to take on more of a transportation logistics type of existence, which where we are today. We're mostly transportation and logistics. We have an airport that's the number one cargo airport in the country. A lot of people don't know that. It's the fastest growing airport for passengers in the country. It's probably most people's favorite airport when they use it.
It's absolutely my favorite. It's the most streamlined, clean, efficient airport I've ever traveled through. My blood pressure actually goes down when I go through it. And then when I leave the airport and I drive up Haven Avenue, I mean, is there a more beautiful view with the San Antonio mountains? I mean, I just love it. It's my favorite.
Yeah. So I mean, we've had these transitions of industries since the beginning, and I think that for the city of Ontario, we've been fortunate that we have been in the center of everything. Right now, we're a transportation hub because in history, whenever you think of what created cities, it was always the crossroads in the desert, the port, the seaport, wherever people crossed and trade began. That's where large populations grew. And also when they had the life supporting systems like water and all of that other stuff. Well, underneath us, a lot of people are not aware that underneath Ontario, we have the Chino Basin, and we have all of this water underneath us that Beefy Brothers didn't really know about. But
well, that's unfortunate.
We know today that we have this huge aquifer underneath us that keeps us supported with water for quite some time. We just have to make sure that it's replenished, which is why we build all of these water systems instead of it just rolling back down the rivers to the sea. It goes underground for us. But that's besides the point. All I'm trying to say is that we have continuously adjusted to what is making a community successful from the very beginning. And today we are transitioning into entertainment, lifestyle, live, work, and play. Our airport is growing. Our convention center is, we have to make it larger because it's just not big enough anymore. We have a professional sports and entertainment arena. You name it, we have it in Ontario. We also boast, I love the Ontario Mills because it's the largest indoor shopping center, and where other malls are dying, we have to continually expand the mills because it's just not big enough to contain all the stores that want to be there. It's never empty. No matter what the economy is like, the mills continues to grow. So,
well, the Mills is literally a shopping destination. I see buses pull up with hundreds of people there just, wanting to go shop. I'm guessing that's been quite a successful program for them all as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not just inside the mall either. It's everywhere around it. Because a lot of people don't even know that where our arena is, that's where the Ontario Motor Speedway, which was famous in the 70s, the Ontario Motor Speedway was there, and the Mills was the parking lot. So
Wow.
yeah, so now all of that area that used to just be a big motor speedway and a parking lot is the high-end area of town with the mills and all of the Class A offices out there and the north side of the airport. So there's so much that's coming. In fact, we're going to be building north of, actually we are building north of the arena, a new living lifestyle entertainment section of town that will rival any other thing, whether it's Fremont Street or downtown, what do they call that in LA, LA Live, that kind of stuff. What's going to be right here in Ontario, we'll have our own entertainment section of town connected to our arena that will give you everything you ever wanted to do. And one of the things that we know is that nobody really wants to drive into Los Angeles to entertain or eat or do anything. It's just too much.
It's a long drive. There's a lot of traffic. And with the cost of fuel right now, I think staying local, close to home is just perfect. I love it. I feel extremely blessed because everything I want to do here, live, work, play as a mother, with my children, there's countless things we can do. We're always, we're at a game, we're at the mills, we're shopping, we're eating at one of the great restaurants around. There's something for everybody at every turn. And I could never look at Ontario and say, gosh, what is there to do there? So it's more like, what is there not to do there? Everything you could possibly want. You have the IMAX theaters. Like you said, you have the big, Ontario Mills, which is a Simon property. And I noted that there is one identical to it in Nashville. It is exactly the same. And I said, wow, we have the exact same mall right here in Ontario. And that made me extremely proud to be on the same, footing as Nashville.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think ours was first too then. But anyway, yeah, they had. We went there. I went there many years ago with Cheryl to look at that mall and to see, because we were being compared. But yeah, I think ours was first. But it's still nice to know that we're duplicated.
Oh well, that's even better, because I assumed that we took the model from Nashville and applied it to Ontario, but it was the other way around, which makes it even grander.
They built theirs up bigger once we had ours. But anyway, another thing I want to bring up before we run out of time is that in the southern side of town, there used to be the industry there was dairies. I talked about all the industries. I forgot to mention that the southern part of town, which was not incorporated into the city of Ontario until 1998, was what was called the Agricultural Preserve of Southern California. And so the Ag Preserve, as it was known, was where people who owned dairies were free to roam. And then as the need for development and people, for people to live, started to encroach into those dairies, as always, when industry meets population and the industry is negative towards that population, just like Kaiser Steel and population and that smoke and everything, it just didn't match. Kaiser had to close down. General Electric had to close down. Lockheed had to close down. All of these different businesses that were not, White Freightliner was also in town. All of these different businesses have to close down because they negatively impact the environment for the population. So dairies are actually a negative impact on the population. And so once we were able to incorporate that into the part of the city, and it lost its ag preservation status, and it started to develop. And you see, it was also in Chino and Chino Hills. Those cities during the boom of the early 2000s, they built out real fast. But we held out for a higher quality product. And so we didn't build out during the early 2000s, and then the boom, the Great Recession hit, and so all of that land was just sitting there. Well, now we're just getting inundated, and in fact, we are the number 8 master plan community. No, we're number 6. Actually, we moved up. We're number 6 for master plan communities. We're number 1 in the state of California for master plan.
Oh my goodness, remarkable! And not surprising, but remarkable.
Yeah, and that Ontario Ranch community continues to appeal to many, many people, and they're moving in there. Is right now one of the things that happens in development, though, is because costs are rising so fast. In the past, they would sell a home before it was built, so they had the money to build the home before the owner moved in.
Right.
Oh, now, now they don't have that kind of money because costs go up, so they wait until it's built. But it's getting built quickly. We have 13 square miles of property that's getting developed for an entirely new, brand new, modern gigabit community that will have the information superhighway built into it in every single way. The street lights.
And we're so excited. So everyone, we're going to come back. So for those listening, I'm Yvette Walker on Southern California Business Report on ABC News and Talks KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV, talking to Paul Leon, Mayor of Ontario, California, where over 3/4 of their residents say it is a great place to live. Founded as a model colony based on innovation, planned development, community service, and family values, the City of Ontario has become the economic heart of the region. Stick around when we return from the break.
Every 2 seconds, someone needs a blood transfusion. Be on the giving side. Livestream Blood Bank supports patients in 80 Southern California hospitals. Call 1-800-TRY-GIVING for more information and to set an appointment.
City of Hope is driven to making a difference in the lives of people with cancer and diabetes. We accomplish this by conducting innovative research and providing outstanding care. If you or a loved one has received a cancer diagnosis, go to cityofhope.org to learn more about how our innovative approach could change your outcome.
The University of La Verne is rated first in California for alumni satisfaction. Learn more about accelerated programs offered online and on campus in La Verne, Irvine, Ontario, Burbank, or College of the Canyons. Visit go.laverne.edu. The University of La Verne. go.laverne.edu.
Hello, listeners. This is Christopher from The Christopher Show. Hey, if you missed one of our shows here at KMET, don't worry about it. You can go to our webpage, and that's KMET1490am.com. Go to the homepage, click on the SoundCloud tab, and hear any show anytime you want.
Being sued and don't know who to turn to? The insurance company won't defend you and your family in a lawsuit? Stress no more. Call the Walker Law Group. We are the law on your side. Just call 909-989-3200. 909-989-3200.
Take KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
Ontario International Airport is onto a better way to fly with over 65 daily nonstop flights to more than 20 major destinations and the easiest airport experience in Southern California. Visit flyonto.com/Ontario to learn more about Ontario International Airport today.
Welcome back. For those listening, I'm Yvette Walker on Southern California Business Report on ABC News and Talks KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV, talking to Paul Leon, Mayor of Ontario, California, where over 3/4 of their residents say it is a great place to live. Founded as a model colony based on innovation, planned development, community service, and family values, the City of Ontario has become the economic heart of the region. Thank you again for joining us, Mayor Paul Leon.
3/4.
That I got that from your website. 3/4.
No, I never run into anyone who's upset about living here.
Right. No, I don't. I've never run into anybody either. I don't live in Ontario. I'm just happy to be living alongside Ontario because of the economic boom, because of the growth, because of how much there is to do just right across the street. You know, like I said earlier, if I want to go watch a show, if I want to go to a concert, watch a live sporting game, have a wonderful dinner, go shopping, there's nothing Ontario does not have to offer, which I'm extremely excited about. So tell us a little bit more about the state of the city as it stands today.
We have always held it as far as one of our main goals is to be fiscally solvent. We've never wanted to find ourselves in a place to where we didn't have enough money to maintain the quality of life that people have become accustomed to. So even during the 2000s downturn and the Great Recession, we didn't stop doing anything. We budget correctly as a city, and we're very proud of that. We put away money when we have a surplus. We don't look for ways to spend it real fast or a way to create a new something new that creates another debt. And people don't always understand that. You know, they say, well, if you have some extra money, then build another park. And it's like, well, why don't we just improve the park we have, because we already have a budget to maintain that park.
Right.
If we build another park, that's nice, but then we have to find the money to maintain that park and the staff to operate that park. What we're actually doing today is we're looking for ways to partner with our school districts to utilize the open spaces that we all have, so that they don't have to spend a lot of money creating play fields, and we don't have to spend a lot of money building a new park. If we can share space for libraries and park space and share the cost, we both save.
That's right.
And so that's one thing that we're doing. In fact, right now, along with the county and the school district, we're going to be remodeling and renovating a closed baseball field that's just been sitting there fallow for years. We're putting our money together between the three of us to create a field of dreams level ball field in the center of Ontario for kids who have not had a ball field for many, many years. Baseball field.
Oh, how exciting. Where exactly is that going to be?
It's at Bonneview Park, and it's called Bud Eldridge Field. And it's just been kind of dilapidated for many years due to the fact we didn't have the money to rebuild it or to remodel it. And so now we have, because we've found some partners who want to put some big money behind making this great new baseball field that everyone can be proud of and kids can play on for free in leagues, because we don't like to create like a stadium that kids have to, or families have to pay to enjoy in Ontario.
Right.
We like to build things that people can enjoy for free.
That's wonderful. You know, you're thinking of the community again, creating resources, activities, parks, libraries. Like I said, there's nothing that as a resident there is to want, because everything is there. And I love that you are collaborating with schools and libraries, you know, to locate these resources, because really, if you're able to share the cost, everyone wins, right? The school wins, the city wins, the students win, because they'll get more of what it is that they need at those locations, at the libraries or at the parks, to enhance their experience, whether it's on the field or in the library, in books and resources. So it's absolutely brilliant. And I love that you and your colleagues are taking that approach to be efficient. It's beautiful. And I hope that others that are listening that are in leadership positions take these examples and hopefully apply them to the dynamics that they're looking at when they're looking at challenges regarding budgets or, restricted in terms of what land that they have available for certain activities or programs, to be creative, think outside the box, and look towards partnering with, partners that make sense, like you have so brilliantly done already.
Well, and it transcends just this. When we look at the older part of the city, we talked earlier on about the Chaffee brothers, and their concept for Ontario back in the 1830s, and it wasn't incorporated until much later, I think 1891. So we've been around for 130 years as a city, but there was the development of the region, of the community, before it was incorporated as a city. This doesn't just happen. So a lot of our city is very old. A lot of the infrastructure is very old, and people don't always understand that. Don't get me started on the politics, state mandating things for communities, and they don't even understand that you can't say you can build anywhere, anything you want, because we want to build homes for people, without understanding that the infrastructure in the community can't sustain that.
Right.
When they say you can build little homes behind everybody's house now, well, how does a 130-year-old sewer system handle that?
Right.
Well, it doesn't. So who gets to pay to upgrade all of that? Well, we have to start thinking now, because the state has said that. How are we going to do this? But in the meantime, as we are starting to budget for the upgrading of the underground infrastructure, the older part of town, we are designing in the newer part of town, in the Ontario Ranch area, a community that, and a lifestyle that'll transcend anything in Southern California. Because it's always funny to me, and this really makes a lot of sense. People want to get away from home and go to the resort. Well, what if we just designed a community that was a resort?
That makes sense. It makes sense to me. You never have to leave. You're living at the resort.
So that's what's really kind of happening in Ontario Ranch. It has kind of this master plan resort feel that's very attractive to people, and it has all of the steps of that first home buyer to that executive home buyer. And then I know, because I've had kids who were little, who grew up and are gone, and now I have grandkids that I'm dealing with. And so Cheryl and I didn't need as big a house as we did when we had kids. We could scale down. So in the Ontario Ranch area, all of those types of homes are there. You can build up and move back down and not really leave town, but you also have that feel of living in a designed resort. In fact, we have a 300-acre great park that's coming in that most people don't even think of when they're developing their city. They don't think about the play area. And they think of these little infill parks that basically say, okay, don't build two houses there. We're going to put a little park there.
Right.
But it doesn't really let kids and families play. They have to find that county park like Prado or even Guasti Park, or you go out to Ukaipa Park. But we want to have that in the center of our town. And I don't want to say we're recreating Central Park, New York, but we're creating something similar to Central Park, New York.
Wow.
Where there's going to be this huge Central Park in our city that everyone can access, that'll have all kinds of amenities, including swimming and sports and baseball diamonds, football fields, soccer fields, and even an outdoor amphitheater for entertainment. Okay. So when we think of Ontario in every way, we think of upgrading the older part of town so that it seamlessly connects to the newer part of town. And how we do that, we have to be very thoughtful, very conscientious, and understand that we don't want anybody saying, well, how come we don't have what they have? Well, we're all going to have it. It's all going to be here. And so we even think of public transportation. Many communities are no longer, public transportation exists for years, it's just going to be buses. or whatever, Lyft.
Right.
But today in Ontario, we're planning not only the bus system that's coming through, which is a dedicated bus line across Holt, but I'm working diligently every day to get that the Gold Line light rail out of Los Angeles that now is terminating in Pomona. The money is taken to Pomona, but I want it to come all the way to our airport. So I'm working diligently to make that happen.
Very nice. So tell us a little bit more about the park and where that is relative to the ranch. And tell us a little bit more about the ranch. How big of a project or how big of a facility is that? How many homes? How many acres? Because I know that this one's a big one as well.
Yeah, well, when we talk about the ranch, we're really talking about this. That's just the name of the community, like Phillips Ranch is still Pomona, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Alta Loma is still Rancho Cucamonga.
Right.
And so Ontario Ranch is still Ontario. Whereas Archibald Ranch is Ontario. Mm-hmm. So just another section of the community of the city, a community in the city of Ontario. And it is the area that I would say is from the 15 freeway all the way west to Euclid, and from Riverside Drive south to the Riverside County line. And wow. It encompasses about 13 square miles. And that's where all the dairies were. So if you were to look in the kind of the northern center part of that, from basically around Archibald east or west all the way over towards Euclid, in the center there's going to be a 300-acre park that will be contiguous. It won't be broken up little. It'll be just one long and wide park in the center of everything. And it's still close enough to the older part of town to where people can access it. And it won't just be, the people down there have this. No, it'll be the center of Ontario right now by landmass is actually, crazy as it sounds, the center of town is like at Archibald and the 60 freeway. And you wouldn't think that. You would think that the center is all at Holt and Euclid. But it isn't. When you look at the landmass of the city, it's the center is at Archibald and the 60 freeway. So with all of that in store, we are building we're developing, I should say, the most modernistic community in the country. There are so many modern amenities that are happening. I mean, we're including solar. The infrastructure is internet infrastructure. So in the past, you had your telephone line. When I was a kid, you had your electricity, your water, your sewer, and the telephone line. Well, we are far beyond that. Electricity has to be a lot more available in a home. When I was a kid, in your living room, you plugged in the TV and the lamps. Today, you plug in the TV, the amplifier for the TV speakers, your computer, the lamps, every little thing. You plug in your phone. There's so many more needs for outlets in a home than there ever was. So, and to make that kind of safe, you have to have the kind of electrical safety services that make that safe in a home. All of that going in a home. Also, you had your, you might have a cable, but now you have to have internet access all through your home. It's not just Wi-Fi. So every home and every business in Ontario Ranch has a fiber optics going to it so that they can access the internet. And the city is the utility for the internet. You don't have to go to Spectrum or Frontier or anybody. It's part of having a house in Ontario. You have water, you have power, you have internet, you have sewer.
And it's all through the city.
It's part of the deal. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the kind of modern community, family-friendly, recreation, entertainment, connected yet subdivided communities that we think is the community of the future, as well as we've also had to make sure that transportation, not just public transportation, but the streets are going to be wide enough for 100 years from now. You have to understand that 100 years ago, so you take yourself back to 1920, what did they had? Model
right, the Model T Fords, right, that were about 3 feet wide.
And so the streets, some of the streets in Ontario are so narrow, they were made for someone who might have had a car here or there. Most people had horses. In our older part of the city, even Upland suffers from that.
Right.
But we have to make sure that we look at our modern community being built in those 13 square miles. We'll be able to accommodate whatever comes in 100 years from now. And there'll be some time when they just blow everything down, knock everything down, start over again. But that's going to be somewhere in the distant future. So we have the task of seeing further in the future than anybody ever has. That people 100 years ago in Ontario were not saying, I wonder what they're going to need in 2020.
Imagine that. I don't think they had the Jetsons back then, because that's kind of where we're approaching right now, is kind of Jetson-esque developments from some of the things that I've been seeing.
Well, I mean, it was kind of funny. We opened up a shopping center, the new Cedar Brothers Shopping Center down off of Haven and, gosh, I can't remember whatever street down there it is, way down in the south, almost to Eastville. And when we open it up, Elon Musk has already put a satellite above Ontario. He's very interested in this area. We're going to be dealing with him as he digs a tunnel from Rancho Cucamonga to our airport and puts in a high-speed transport between the hub and the transportation hub in Rancho that'll go to our airport. And that's kind of futuristic, but he's very interested in this area. So there's a satellite in the sky that he's affiliated with. And when we opened the store, they use the information, the internet that comes off of that satellite, to have a drone deliver me the scissors.
Oh my goodness.
To cut the ribbon at the store. So, and it was the craziest thing. I was just sitting there and they're saying, hang on, they're going to bring it to you. And they found my phone somehow. They found my phone and
they brought it to you.
Yeah, there was a drone up in the sky, not that high, and it just came down on a rope, and I had the scissors and cut the string and.
Oh my goodness! Were they like the regular scissors or the overgrown scissors, like the show scissors?
They're bigger than normal, but they weren't super big. And then they also have in that part of town these little things, like they call them QBs or something. A QB, I can't remember. It's just it's a little electrical cart that you put if you go shopping, you put all your stuff in it, and then it takes it to your house and goes back to the store where you got it from.
Wait, what? How does that work again? You just fill up a shopping cart with stuff and then it'll just ship itself to you.
It rolls, it's a cart and it's electric.
Okay.
And you live in the neighborhood, it takes it to your house. You unload it and then it goes back to the store on its own.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Or it'll follow you. So let's say that you're going to multiple stores in the same shopping center. It'll go with you and then all the way home. And then so that you can ride your bike or walk. You don't have to drive because you got this cart and it goes with you. And then you unload it at home and it goes back to the store.
Wow. It sounds like those QBs are going to be very, very popular. And especially at the mills, when you have those, groups of people that want to come in here, that it looks like they just travel to shop. That's what it looks like, because when you see what they leave with, right? I anticipate they're going to be leaving with lots of QBs. They're going to be loading up the buses with QBs.
Well, you can take them home. You got to let them go back to the store. I wish I could remember the real name, but it's just a little shopping cart that goes with you. It just follows you. You don't have to push it or anything. It's all self-powered. It just follows you. You just put stuff in it. You buy it. And then when you're done, you go home and you upload it. It goes back on its own, but it has to have that satellite to figure out where it's at. And there's one over Ontario Ranch. There's a satellite up there that helps all this stuff happen.
Oh my goodness. Is it one of those Starlink satellites? Is it one of the Elon Musk satellites?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a Starlink satellite.
Beautiful.
And the other thing is that the eventuality is that that's where your internet will come from, not from poles, but from the Starlink.
Right. And we just had Supervisor Hagman. He's the chairman of the Board of Supervisors for the County of San Bernardino, who announced that they had, just gone and executed a great partnership with Starlink to provide these satellites for the entire county. And I believe the quantity was something like 6 Starlink satellites to cover the entire county. I don't know any other county that's doing that, but I'm just very proud to be here and be alongside your beautiful city of Ontario. So just very briefly, can you just share, what the 3 key elements have been in your view through your time serving as mayor of Ontario that have propelled you to this point in time? And what do you think are going to be the things that are going to propel all of these efforts moving forward?
Well, we've had consistency, stability, and reliability in our government. What did I say? Consistency, stability, and reliability in our government. When developers come to your community to do something, they know some of these things are going to take, 2 years, maybe 20 years. And if they don't have the confidence that you're going to still be with them through that time, if a city council changes and they change their mind, those investments that they made they just totally lose them. So they have to be confident that you're going to be there over the long haul. We've been a long in the government.
Yes, and you are doing a tremendous job to elicit that confidence that you guys know what you're doing. So for everyone listening, look for us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Check us out on scbrtalk.com, and don't forget to download the free live streaming app on Google Play or the Apple App Store. Don't miss my interview with Phil Cothran, owner of State Farm Cothran Insurance Agency. He is a lifelong Fontana resident, successful business owner, and philanthropist whose deep affection for his community is apparent through his extensive community service and volunteerism. His State Farm Insurance Agency also has ranked #1 consistency in its division and is one of the most well-known and respected insurance agencies in the region. Beyond his business acumen, what defines Phil Cothran is his extensive philanthropy and community service. Next week, we will have John T. Chapman, the President and Chief Executive Officer at San Antonio Regional Hospital in Upland, California. Mr. Chapman joined the hospital as the Chief Operating Officer in 2018 and is currently the 7th President and CEO in the history of the hospital. San Antonio Regional Hospital has 363 beds, a staff of over 600 physicians, 2,400 employees, and 500 volunteers. The hospital offers advanced patient care throughout the Inland Empire as well. John is a clinical microbiologist by training and has served as an experienced hospital executive for over a decade. Prior to arriving at San Antonio, he served as Chief Operations Administrative Officer at Highland Hospital in Oakland, California. John was not only in charge of operations at this 169-bed general acute care hospital, but also led the clinical and support services for the Alameda Health System. Everyone listening, don't miss it. Mayor Paul, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. My wife Cheryl says hi to you, her friend.
I love her.
Join Yvette Walker every Tuesday at 4 o'clock p.m. on KMET ABC News Radio, 1490 AM, FM 98.1, and Internet KMET TV for the Southern California Business Report. The show is dedicated to highlighting successful businesses and the individuals behind them. Yvette interviews the incredible people managing these enterprises that range from awe-inspiring sole proprietors to world-renowned organizations. The Southern California Business Report, Tuesdays at 4 o'clock p.m.